Hello, this is Hasbrotten from PokerStrategy.com. I am making a no-limit $5 video on the Party Poker Network. As you can see, we're playing 4 tables tonight. My screen name is Me Bet You Fold. As you can see, but at the tables I do have cards at. And yes, to just get right into the action. On no limit $5, I'm not using any table selection because there are bad enough people on all tables to justify playing at every single one, so I don't really need to look out for table selection or something. I just get into the action and try to get the best of it. Well, we had like no real hand so far. Here with an ace, I'm open raising my small blind even if he does not have a big stack. And here with 2 people before me, in front of me, I'm completing my ace-5 offsuit. Here somebody just recognized me and though understood I'm making a video, but I'm not going to use the chat. I don't really see any profit or any reason to do this. He figured out himself I'm making a video, so nice for him, but I don't get the point. In answering this one, though, I'll try to focus on the play. 8-4 offsuit on the button. I just can't hit the fold button because I do not want to play the hand more or less no matter what happens in front of me, so I just click fold. Here king 7 suited, I can raise. I have position and I have a hand that has some possibilities to somehow win the pot. Though I raised on the lower right, I would have enjoyed to have a free play with my 7-8 offsuit, but I'm not going to call a raise even though I'm in position against the aggressor. It's just I don't want to call their preflop a standard raise with a hand like 7-8 offsuit. Here I'm squeezing. I don't know if my chance are good or not, and he does not have a big stack. I don't want anybody here to draw with a real bad hand at my hand because my pocket 10s are really vulnerable preflop, and it's way easier to play them if I re-raise here, because if he is coming over the top of me again, I can just fold. If he folds, I'm winning a good-sized pot. And if he calls and I flop an overpair, I'm still going broke because I expect him to get it in most of the time with a bigger overpair, so I expect to be good often enough. Since he wouldn't have much of a bet left on the flop, he just has like a little bit more than pot size. So I just put him all in here. It's flush draw and straight draw out there. I don't want him to get there cheaply. If he's got me beat with pocket kings, so be it, but I expect to be ahead here very, very often, and I still am ahead on the river. Of course, I'm curious to see what he had, and he had like king jack. Very nice play by him. He minimum raised, then called a serious 3-bet, and then went broke with top pair and no kicker. So nice hand. Here we can open raise if we get into the position of being an open raiser, but against a cutoff open raise, I don't think we can play queen 9 offsuit profitably. Re-raising would be just too much with a hand like queen 9, and calling would also be bad because our hand is just like real bad. We don't have much value, so the only possible play is just to fold, which I did. Well, queen 9 now. Thinking of calling the big blind if he comes along, and I do. We have a possibly we will get a 2, 4, 6, 7 to 9 way pot, 6 to 8 way pot here. So I just come along and try to get the best of it cheaply because I do have good implied odds against almost every opponent. We are 100 big blinds deep with him, and possibly him, and he also has like 75 big blinds. Oh, we are even 125 big blinds deep because it's no limit $5 where you can buy in with 125 big blinds. which even increases our implied odds. But I'm not calling here with a gut shot. I'm far from clothing the action. And I just have a gut shot with 3 outs, which does not go to the nuts. So I'm not calling here, especially not against a short stack or a semi-short stack. Since somebody easily might check raise here, somebody easily might do something that hurts my hand, because I called with like a 3-outer and then don't even see a turn card. So I just give it up, and I don't know if I do have good implied odds against him. Here it's like interesting. Wow. Just went all in for 125 big blinds in a 2 big blind pot. This is like sick, because it just doesn't make any sense, I think. Because if he has the nuts, I don't see maybe if he has like the nut flush and the other guy just rivered another flush, the other guy might call. But even if the other guy rivered like a 10 high flush or something, he might still be inclined to fold, because it's just a move that screams so much of nuts that it just makes no sense. Without any history or something, it just makes no sense to overbet it this big if you don't have any idea of what hand your opponent can possibly call you with. Here we have some kind of standard hand. We have a top pair and an unraised pot, a pretty weak top pair. We're basically going to bet it and then see what happens. Our hand can definitely not stand a real raise on the flop, and we're normally no good if there goes too much money in. But I think with this turn card I can easily bet again. We're often ahead of a 9 or something. He might even call us with a worse hand, named the 9. And if he check raise this is now on the turn, we definitely can just muck it, because we beat like actually nothing. He has to be like check calling and then check raising us with a semi bluff or something, which I don't expect him to have often enough. So I'm just mainly protecting and trying to find out where I'm at, because my equity usually is higher on the flop than on the turn. Here I'm basically going to check call on the turn. Many queens now split with us, which same as now. I don't expect him to call on the turn again with a worse hand like a 9. So I just check call, because there is not too much draws out there, and I'm not committing too much money. Well, he had the only real draw on the flop. He had Jack 10. But if Jack 10 get there and he puts in a lot of money, I still can easily fold. Well, here you have to think of how much to 3-bet him. I think this would be a good amount. He's raising like a lot, but since we're 130, 40 big blinds deep, I don't want him to get to the flop too cheap, though I'm betting big. Basically committing myself on most flops, because if he calls, the flop will be almost $2 big, with us both having just 4.5 behind. But he folds, fortunately. Here I'm thinking of calling 12. Yes, it's okay. I just had to calculate down the implied odds, but they're okay to call, even though he's short stacked. I do have enough implied odds because he raised really small. Here I'm isolating a limper. I think it's okay. Well, here I don't expect him to have a 6 or an ace very often, so I just semi-bluff the turn with my flush draw. And I think I can value bet it again smallish on the river, because I don't expect him to raise any worse hands here. If he wants to bluff raise me, he could have done it on the turn, or just bet the flop to bluff me. And if he's not going to bluff me, he won't raise here. He might call with a worse hand. He might also call with a better hand, like a scared 6 or something. But I don't expect him to raise me with a worse hand here. Here I isolated 2 limpers with ace-10 offsuit, got 3-bet, which is basically bad. But since it's just a minimum 3-bet and I do have position on the opponent, I think I'm forced to call here pre-flop. Flopping second pair and being confronted with an overpot sized bet. I don't see any point in calling, so I just fold. Raising, of course, is also really bad. Ace Jack offsuit is good enough to isolate and limper here as well. Here against the same guy as before, I of course raise. My king queen suited is definitely strong enough here. I wouldn't have raised a hand like 7-9 suited again against him because he just check folded against me on the flop, and I doubt he's going to do that all too often. But okay, I think I'm very inclined to check it here. I'm not giving up too much value because I don't get called by worse hands all too often, and I don't think they do have too many outs against me on this flop. And I do even have a redraw if I'm beat. So I'm checking this flop since it got checked through and there is a backdoor flush draw, which is not mine. I'm betting here to protect my hand. I still expect to be good here, and bet it for protection and value. Here I'm raising ace queen offsuit against one limper, and here I'm raising king jack offsuit against the limper. Getting the blinds, and obviously not getting the blinds. Here I just fold the hand. We might think of raising, but we raised two hands before and I don't think it accomplishes our goals. Here I would just counter-bet if he checks to us. If he does not, I would just give this pot up. If he donks bet into me on this board, it's not really necessary to get involved there with ace queen high, because on this limit he is not going to fold often enough if I raise, and if I raise and he calls, I'm most likely down to 6 outs or even less, which is like not a real draw. And I still might be no good if I hit. Basically, I have 4 outs that give me top pair with top kicker, top pair or top pair good kicker, and I don't think it's enough to raise here. I don't think you should raise here. On the rainbow board, things might get different. You might think of raising here, and I think it's way better. But on a flush draw board, I don't think it makes much sense. Here I'm limping basically because there are 3 people posting dead money, and I just hope nobody's raising. I don't want to steal this money from under the gun with an ace jack and with a jack 9 offsuit, but I think I can profitably just limp here because it's most likely gonna be a real multi-way pot, and I have an okay drawing hand. Here my ace king also did not hit, but I don't see any reason in not continuation betting it, because if I don't bet, I'm not winning it at all. So I just bet, and since he raised me, I just can't fold. Here I open raise my pocket 5s from middle position and get the blinds. Ace queen again, I open raise. I've been really active on this top right table, but well, since I'm getting hands, it's okay. I'm definitely calming down a bit with like close hands, which I also could just limp or fold, but well, of course I can't just fold or limp an ace queen offsuit from under the gun. Here I might raise, but since I raised like 2 out of 3 hands in the past orbit, I'm just letting it go for him this time. And well, here of course I bet my second pair, and I see myself betting the turn again for having a free showdown against the flush draw. Even there are 2 overcards. If he's got like an ace or maybe a turned queen with a flush draw, he's calling, but I do have some outs, and he might still as well call with a flush draw, so I bet to see a free showdown because I check behind. I'm most likely not going to like the river card that comes off, and so I prefer betting here. Somebody here also recognized me. Ace queen suited again, the same, the action table, I'll call it from now. Wow, this is sick. For this session I do have like 30 WPIP and 20 preflop raise, 13 aggression factor. It's pretty sick. I played a few hands before this video started because I didn't get the software to run, but now it all works and it's really sick. But okay, I just have a real run of cards, which is good, of course. And it seems to continue, of course, here. Pocket kings, ace queen, it's, I don't know, I think I had ace queen like 4 out of 10 hands at this table. It's just sick, but I haven't played a single big pot so far. Maybe this changes now. I don't expect anybody on this table to believe me anymore. I raised like, I don't know, I don't have the stats for this particular table, but I think I raised like I don't know, 40% of my hands. But as you saw, it just really was a good run of cards. Leaving out one raise with 9-7 suited, which wasn't necessary, but it's still okay to make. I just raised like for value with real hands. So. Here on the lower right, for deuce 4 offsuit, I just check fold. It's like more or less the worst hand I could commit any money with, so I'm not doing it. And just check fold, as well as 4-3 on this table from middle position is no good at all. 3-4 suited from the small blind looks at least a bit nicer. And I think I might complete here if at least one guy also completes or limps in front of us. He can't decide what to do with this hand. Seems to be a real tough decision here. To call or not to call. Well, we can make a plan for this pocket jacks hand. To me, it seems like squeezing is the best move here because he just raised 1.5 big blind more, which is not much at all. And with my pocket jacks, I once again do not want people to draw cheap against my hands, so I re-raised to make a stand. He min raises pre-flop and then calls my continuation bet, and I have no clue where I'm at this hand. And I do not have any stats, as you can see from him, so I have no clue what to do. He might have like aces or kings. He might as well have like a worse overpair or something like this. The 7 was no good card at all because he might even have the 7. Since I managed to get to the river without the pot being too big, I'm just checking and calling a reasonable bet here. I don't think betting accomplished us. Wow. Here I raised pretty big with lots of limpers in front of us. This is sick. I'm just looking up one hand I saw him play. Wow. Can we call here? I'm very inclined to call, but I think I fold because I have not seen him doing too much in a situation like this, and it just really sucks to get it in with pocket 10s against a better overpair. And my pocket 10s are even vulnerable against bad hands as well, as long as he does not have like a small pocket pair or something. Even if he just has one overcard against my hand, he still has some equity, and I do have real bad equity against a better hand. In form of a better overpair, so I decide to mug this one. It would be a very different situation if he just limped from under the gun or something, like first to act. In this position, I might think of limping like aces or something. I wouldn't do it because it's bad play, but I much more often see people do it. So I would be more inclined to believe him from this position. But in this particular hand, somebody limped in front of him and he limped behind in middle position. Though he can't really expect somebody to raise behind him. So since he can't really expect somebody to raise, I can't really expect him to have like a big hand he wants to limp raise. So I don't believe him that much. But I still believed him enough to fold a hand like pocket 10s. I anyways forgot to look up what this guy in our pocket jacks hand had. He had pocket nines, so he had a worse overpair. But he very well could have had a bigger overpair. Here I have nothing. Jack 5 suited is no hand I really want to raise preflop an open limper with, especially not with the image on this table, even if I might have like a calm down image. But if you check the flop to me, I'm going to bet and turn a pair which is okay but won't win the showdown all too much, so I check behind. I'm just calling here because I don't see, do I see value in raising him here? He might have a straight or something, of course, but I also think he might have a worse one pair. So, or maybe a worse two pair. He might have like 9-10 or something, and I expect him to pay me off here with a worse two pair. So I raise, but he had the straight, of course. I don't really get why he did not re-raise me. There was just one hand that beat him, which was King Jack, I guess. King Queen. But okay, once again, I'm not going to blame anybody on this limit for making mistakes. Well, it was of course a sin value raise to do here. We could as well just call, because I think very often he is going to have a speed sometime, and he is going to have a real bad hand or a busted draw or something. He can't stand the raise with and folds anyway, where I don't win any more money with raising. But I think since I rivered a pair that I rivered a two pair, which beats every two pair from the flop. So I see in this particular case, I do see some hands that did slow play, does not have a speed, and still can call and will call a river raise, like, as I mentioned, 10-9 or something, 10-6, I don't know. Maybe he would possibly even call with a lone 10 or even a lone jack if he has like the flush draw or something. So I'm raising there for value. Not getting there, of course. Well, now it is like waiting again. Waiting is like very common for poker players. You do just have to wait normally a long time until you get a hand, and you should get used to that really soon, because if you don't, things might happen like you get bored or something. You will steam a lot more if you get bored too soon. You will play bad hands, which is just losing money for you. And you just should adjust to that and take your time, pick your spots, and you will make money out of that. On this table, it seems like I'm not doing it because I still have raised like, I don't know, 30% of my hands, which is more than I'm usually playing on a full ring table. But since it's been all good hands, it's okay to play it. I'm of course not folding an ace queen here because I played loose. And I'm not missing a continuation bet heads up on a paired board either. Well, now we again have absolutely no clue where we are at. He might very well be bluffing or having a real marginal hand, but since we do have a real bad image, I'm not raising him here on the turn, because I do not see him fold a bad hand that has some kind of outs or some kind of showdown value often enough if I raise the turn, and I don't see a profitable turn call at all, because on the other hand I don't expect to be ahead here very often, because even if he's like bluffing in marks, he still might be bluffing with the best hand, because he might have like a pair of deuces, a pair of trays or something, which of course beats our ace high, and we can't call profitably here, since we of course neither do we know on what river cards we can call a bet or maybe raise a bet, or we just should fold because we have no clue what he's got. He might as well have like a check call the flop with overcards and then turn the backdoor flush draw, have like a gut shot a pair and a gut shot. He might have a full house, he might have like everything. And I don't expect he folds much much that we beat on the turn to raise. So folding is the play. Deuce 5 suited? No. If he entered the pot playing maybe a 6-way pot, I would be inclined to call, but without good implied odds, I just fold. Well, now I would have raised him on the on the action table, because I have like pocket tens and I would definitely raise here, but he didn't accomplish my plans and just folded pre-flop. Which is uncommon for him because he likes to see flops, I guess, as I do. But I seem to have a little bit more of a clue how to play them. Here, of course, we have trips with a flush draw in an unraised pot. There it is. Now it's once again not an easy play here, because I haven't seen him raise a hand since now pre-flop, and I didn't see him get aggressive neither, so I don't know what he's got, but we're definitely calling the flop and then looking at the turn. And I think I like to check call it here more than to bet fold it, because sometimes, even if we're beat, we do have some outs or some split outs. And I think I check call it again. I don't see him call a worse hand, but sometimes he might bluff the flush draw. I don't expect him to have the 10 here like ever. I beat even the full house with the pocket deuces, so I just check call. Now the question. I make a small 4-bet here. I don't like calling because his 3-bet was so small, so I'm doing the same and just 4-bet small. If he re-raised me bigger with his stack, I might just have called. But against his small raise, I don't like just calling. I think going all in here is a better play. And he had an ace-5 suited. He even flopped on flush draw and riveted a pair. So no bad board for him, but not good enough to beat aces though. Lucky me. And on this table, it's a real tough hand. It's not easy to play in a situation like this when you get min raised by a seemingly passive guy that can have like any two, and you have a hand that is on one hand it's a strong hand. There's not too many hands that beat you, but on the other hand you always have to think of what worse hands can call you, and I do not like to get it in on a flop like this with trips and a really bad kicker, since I might be like more or less down to 3 outs. Maybe some split outs if he has a better kicker. Though I like to take the passive line, because if he is ahead, I sometimes can suck out. If he's not ahead, I even sometimes win more money than by representing even more strength. And I prefer to see a showdown here cheaply. If the flush comes in and he's going to bet like real big, I still can fold and think, well, maybe I misplayed the hand and got sucked out by the flush draw and let him get there. But I prefer to let him get there sometimes and control the pot against a better hand, since I'm losing too much if the money goes in on the flop or on the turn, I think. I think betting the river makes no sense at all, because sometimes you will like bet a flush draw or something he can't call a bet with. And I have to puke if I get raised, of course, on the river. Ace-10 suited. We're not calling here unless he calls. If he calls, we're going to take a short look at the stack sizes. And we're not calling either, because he is not full stacked. We don't have a position. Makes not much sense to call here. Wouldn't be that bad of a play, but it's still a bit too loose, I think, since our implied odds are not all too great. Neither is our hand, so just folding here, I think, is a slightly better play. So I did exactly that. Oh well, I might make a note here, so you can see like what information I put in the note. I tried to make the note like being real short, so I can just look it up with one short look and directly see what I was writing down, and I'm just describing what happened in the hand. Well, now I wrote down like he limps aces, then the fact that he min-raised my bet on a deuce 5-5 two-suited board, and then bet turn the 10 on the turn and the river 10 in position heads up. It's basically what he did, and I think it gives me like a clue what he might be having. And on the next time I have a hand in a situation like this, I would be more inclined, like, of course, just to call with a hand, like a flush draw or something, because I can take big pocket pairs into his range, and I have good implied odds against big pocket pairs usually. And I wouldn't be feared all too much if he comes from under the gun limps and then raises me on a board like this and I have trips, because I can expect him to have an overpair sometime. And of course I do have the overpair beat. So it's an important information you should always write down in a way you understand it. Of course your note might look completely different to the ones I make, but you should write it down in a way you understand it. And if you play different limits, you might as well do what I do now, what I forgot. Add the limit, because it makes a difference if people do this like on no limit 100 or on no limit 5. Maybe he's like a professional poker player just steaming off some money or something. Makes a big difference, of course. Paid off with ace queen. Just curious. Well, here from under the gun I tend to limp mediocre pocket pairs. I don't want to raise pocket sevens here, but I don't want to fold them because they have big value against most people here, because I'm going to get I get paid off a lot if I hit, and I often do see a cheap flop, which also isn't, of course, not bad for me. So limping here is an okay play. Here I decide not to raise with Jack 4 offsuit. It's just too bad, and he seems to be giving up a lot and then slow play some and something. I'm betting here. I just was having some trouble hitting the right key, but I'm trying to bet here like half pots. As now it's getting interesting, since wow. Well, last hand he made a similar play with a flopped straight, so this might very well be a value bet. It might, of course, also be a bluff, but I don't expect him to be bluffing often enough to call here with Jack high, since he overbet. Like a 10-cent bet I would have called with Jack high here. 3 do. I was actually a bit off, so I had no time to calculate what should I re-raise. Actually, it was a bit too less. I should have raised a little more. But okay, let's see how the hand plays out. Here, since the flop got checked through and the turn doesn't kill my hand, I expect to be good here often enough to bet, even if I just have second pair. And most likely I was good, because everybody folded really fast. Here my idiot and gut shot, I of course just check and fold. There again is no other play. And here as well, I wouldn't really be inclined to call a raise or something. And with the idiot and straight draw again, I'm not committing any money. Just folding. Can't do anything about it. Well, now we have some hands we might play them all here. King Queen against two limpers. Even against two limpers, even if they're shot stacked, I'm raising from the button. Here I think I've been pretty passive the past few hands. He seems to be like fish, possibly since the way he played out. And here is a hand where I'm going to raise a flop bet. The flop is really dry, my raise looks strong here, and I think I have fold equity against a lot of hands, and as a bonus he might be bluffing and a bluff. Normally, of course, folds here. Since he does not fold and the turn doesn't help me, I just check behind and give it up. I don't see any reason in firing another bullet, and I'm not even going to fire the river, because if he has, which is very unlikely, but if he has a hand I have beat, I still, like a missed gut shot or something, I still am ahead, and I don't expect him to fold a hand he calls a flop raise with now on the river, since I checked behind the turn. Wow, he had ace high. Well, maybe he would have folded that, but I don't even know. Here I was thinking about second barreling, but looking at his stack and once again looking at the board, I just check it behind. Now check it behind, I expect to win here even sometimes, but sometimes he has me beat. Well, saved money by not barreling the turn. I'm of course not barreling the river. I beat every pocket pair, I beat most flush draws, and I will never get called by a better hand. I don't see better hands folding, because better hands mostly are full houses, and full houses are rarely be folded on this limit. So I don't try to bluff out a full house. As you can see, not even ace high folds if you raise the flops. So. Well, looks a bit like he was very inclined to win this hand no matter what, and I don't really expect that he expected to be ahead when I raised the flop, but I think he just thought, well, I might still hit. Here King Queen raised a couple of limpers, flopping a gut shot and two overcards, which is not even the worst flop I can get. Of course, heads up good enough to be continuation bet, but that doesn't mean much. And he folds, which of course once again is a good result. Well, slowly I'm coming to an end in this video. Managed to win like half a stack, which of course is okay for such a short period of time. I just played 160 hands or something. Had a lot of hands, and I think everything was like okay, the way it played out. I hope you enjoyed watching, and no, we of course can't leave the table in the small blind. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and you will maybe watch another video of mine with pleasure. I hope you learned something, and I hope my English is good enough for you to understand it, and it's not too much of a torture for you to listen to some German native speakers talking English and trying to explain you something about poker. And with those words I want to close this one. Thank you and goodbye.